We are now joined by Kerrisha Gopichand. She is a personal development and conscious business coach and the CEO and founder of Conscious Emergence, a coaching, creative design, and online marketing company. Good afternoon and welcome to the program this afternoon, Kerrisha.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Kerrisha, our discussion in our wellness segment today is on mindfulness. I know that it's a buzzword. I know that lots of people know about it, practice it, but there isn't enough that we know about it. But more than knowing about it, I think we need to also, um, you know, highlight the importance of it and the significance of how it can, or the benefits rather of
Mhm.
the exercise itself. So, what is mindfulness exercises?
I think that, it is a buzzword. Everybody is speaking about mindfulness. And to start, I think it's good for us to really understand what the meaning of the word mindfulness is all about. So I believe that it's a basic human ability, and it's for us to be fully present and aware of where we are, who we are, and what we're doing. And it's also to do with not being overwhelmed or feeling reactive to what's going on around us. So, to me, mindfulness practice or an exercise is really a conscious practice, because whenever you bring awareness to what you're directly experiencing through our senses, and we feed that through our thoughts and emotions, we're being mindful. And yeah, so I guess to me, mindfulness is to be present, it's to be intentional and self aware of what we are doing, of what we're thinking, feeling, and being.
Right. So, how does one do that?
So I guess there's a couple of ways to really go into a mindfulness practice. And I think that it's important for us to even chat about like what are the basics of that.
Right.
So I guess when in the beginning, when one starts to develop a mindfulness practice, we have to make like a conscious decision of setting aside some time. So I think most people have the idea that when we do a mindfulness practice, that we need to get like a meditation couch or some sort of fancy equipment. But it's really innate. Mindfulness is something that we already possess, it's a skill that we develop over time. So we just need to make sure that we set aside the time and the space for that activity. We also need to be cognizant of the fact that our mind is always so busy and thoughts come and go. We're judging ourselves all the time. So we just need to go into the practice of mindfulness in a way of being aware that this is going to happen to me when I start. So we just have to notice the judgments that are going to come through, the sort of like maybe criticizing thoughts that will be coming through as well, and allow
Mm.
them to just pass and roll by. So, the other thing that we could do is also to be kind to ourselves, especially if we're starting a mindfulness practice, we don't know what it is. Don't judge yourself for whatever thoughts that come up. So, practice kindness and just recognize that your mind is going to wander, but gently bring it back to what your practice is all about.
Right. And now there are many benefits of meditation. There's this. Um, would you agree that it might be a confusion between mindfulness and meditation, or is there a difference? What is the difference?
I think mindfulness is really about being present with what you're doing, like observing your own mind. And like I said, to me, it's a conscious meditation practice. So
Right.
we are consciously bringing ourselves to the present moment. We're
Mhm.
trying to be really intentional about that, because life happens with so many people. There's so many experiences that we have. There's so many pressures that we are involved in, whether it's work, family, business. All of these things actually take us out of our center. So,
Right.
meditation, mindfulness, having a conscious practice, all of that really stems into mindfulness. So it's really about approaching life, approaching our experiences in life with conscious thought, conscious emotion. And to us, we need to respond to that rather than react to it.
Right. Now, meditation has been studied in many clinical trials. The overall evidence supports the effectiveness of meditation for various conditions. And, we associate it perhaps with mental health, first of all. But then there's also the physical ailments that it can also benefit. I know it goes far deep into what the benefits are. But if we can start off with just the basics. And when we say basics, it's actually very difficult to manage stress. It's difficult to manage anxiety, pain, whether it's emotional pain or physical pain. And apart from just your daily stresses that it helps you to get through, because you're saying live attentively, live now, be conscious of your present, etc. And that is kind of being in a state of mindfulness all day long. That takes training, that takes awareness, like you said, but also going further than that is managing all of these conditions. And I think it's quite underestimated in terms of its benefits. Or do you think that there is this move towards understanding the broader benefits of mindfulness or meditation?
I absolutely agree that there's such a high increase that people have now delved deeper into themselves. There's more awareness. People are becoming more conscious of what they're eating, what their thought patterns are, how they are responding to situations at work, at family, how they really um, kind of expressing themselves through various relationships that they have. So there's a definite increase with self-awareness in the personal development space. We
Right,
know that what we do and what we put out there comes back to us. And
right,
we also understand that there's a very strong link between the mind, what we think about, and our bodies. So, in terms of the mind body connection and how the emotional response and the triggers that we have, all of them are interconnected, they are
correct,
interrelated.
correct.
So there's definitely an increase in that, and it's beautiful to see because we're not taking a back seat in our own personal development or growth. We're trying to be more conscious of what we're doing, and we know that by us being that way is going to be better not only for ourselves but for those around us too.
Right, right. And this is very interesting in that, it's all about you and developing yourself, which then in turn benefits others. So I think the practice itself has a huge benefit. In your experience and practice, what have you seen change? Perhaps if you can, or if you'd like to share your personal experiences or people that you've coached.
Yeah, sure. I think that personally for me, it's definitely brought so much of clarity in my life. It's doing mindfulness isn't like a once a week thing that you practice. It's actually something that you bring into your daily life. So it does come up with you creating a space and time for yourself every day where you delve deep within and find out really what's going on. But that time and space has so much of benefits in terms of you getting clarity
Right,
about certain decisions that you want to make, certain career paths maybe that you want to pursue, or a business that you want to get into, and it also reduces stress. We live in a very stressful environment. We are bombarded with a lot of internet and social media hype, and that actually pushes us to do certain things in our lives which we might not necessarily consciously intend doing. So having that personal practice for me changed my whole way of thinking, that for me to become more positive. I've even seen clients, share with me that how stress free they're feeling, how
Mm.
calm they are, how it's actually helping them with their anxiety at the workspace, how
Right.
their um, even depression sometimes
Mhm.
feel lonely. Their depression is really something that a lot of people are actually struggling with at the moment. And mindfulness, with them practicing it on a daily basis, actually helps them with that. And also it regulates our emotions. It doesn't
Right.
allow us to just have a burst, at another person, or so it actually regulates our emotions and allows us to respond positively to others. So
Mm.
for me, and even for other people, it really boiled down to having a mindfulness and meditation practice that brings out the best of ourselves.
Mhm. A lot of breathing techniques are attached to this practice, and I think it's something that's so simple yet so profound. People will ask, I mean, if I have to ask you, what are the examples of mindfulness exercises? And I'm sure you'll need another half an hour just to demonstrate what it is, right? Although
Yes.
it's not all that complex, once you start practicing it, it's amazing. It comes so naturally. So, uh, just so that we can give our viewers and listeners a tool to work with, so that it's not just information, it's not just what it is and benefits are, but try and practice it and see how it can in fact improve health and wellness. So breathing is one of I think the most important, or the start of it all.
Absolutely. And breathing is such a powerful practice. It's called breath work. So if somebody has experiencing like negative thoughts, or they feeling down, just take a moment and practically just sit down, whether it's on a carpet or on a chair or your sofa. Just sit down and close your eyes and just notice your breath that's coming in and out of your nose, traveling down, and just take a notice of each breath as you take, as you let it out as well, and just focus as it moves in and out of your body. And when you do that, you're also calming your mind. You're allowing your mind to be still. And you'll notice that as you do this a couple of times, that the negative thoughts and the negative emotions that were coming up will slowly subside. So
Right.
even doing that for a minute or two of breath work can help you so tremendously, because most of us don't actually take the time to breathe.
Exactly.
Yes, so we going through life, we doing so many things, but we don't take that pause to breathe. And breath work is a very powerful practice if someone
Mm.
wants to get started.
Right. And when we look at the benefits, there are so many, like I said earlier, but improving sleep, which is taken for granted sometimes until you have difficulty sleeping, um, and decreasing burnout.
Mhm.
Is that, because we'll probably talk about burnout towards the end of the year. But I think we're already in the first quarter of the year, and people are experiencing burnout, whether it's work related or just our environment, stress included, in terms of the uncertainties. There's just so much of sadness around sometimes. We
Mhm.
just sort of overcoming the aftermath of what lockdowns did to us and the loss of lives. Um, this practice then brings us back to that kind of attention, and to a place where one can feel in control, because a lot of what's happening around us, we obviously feel like it's not in our control, and really most things are not, like the power outages, right?
Yes,
And we
yes.
all go, oh no, and it's doom and gloom, and it's really a very not nice feeling. And there's so many other factors, right?
Mm-hmm.
That are in fact affecting South Africans so much. And we talk about mental health and mental well-being, or physical and mental well-being, wellness. I beg your pardon. We know that anxiety, depression was exacerbated by the conditions during the heart of the COVID pandemic. And there are still people that have fears and anxiety post. If it is post, it's not post as yet, but at least there's a bit of calmness now.
Yes.
So and then that changes the consciousness. When there's fear and uncertainty, and it's the only thing that we're thinking about, it affects the consciousness. So everyone's then in that state. And here we are now talking about just breathing calmly, just being aware of your breath, and being attentive and having control over what you can, which is your body and your mind and your
Yes.
emotions, right? If
Mm-hmm.
we can, after today's program, just a little bit, I know it's the tip of the iceberg, not even, but if we can, through this discussion, help to change the consciousness through this type of awareness, then there's a better vibe, for the want of a better word.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We
Yes,
talk, yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. So if you can just quickly elaborate on the collective consciousness around this practice and the benefits.
Sure. I mean, when it comes to mindfulness and meditation, being present, having that aspect around intentional living and being self aware, that journey isn't easy. It's
Right.
not easy for somebody to just be calm and collected and have it all together. We are
Mm,
human beings after all. We are triggered by a lot of things that happen around us. And like you said, these things are beyond our control. Um, like the floods that's happening,
mm.
now, and so many houses that have been damaged, so many homes.
Lives
There's a
lost,
lot of
yes.
people, a lot of life lost, a lot lives lost, and all of those things in our communities actually exacerbate that kind of issue when we're trying to be in control. But the only
Mm,
thing that we are really in control of is ourselves. So we
correct.
can try to really bring in a lot of peace, a lot of calm, a lot of listening, of being there, of being present when someone is actually sharing their story with us.
Mm,
Sometimes a person needs a listening ear, and we can be that for that person. Even that is a conscious meditation when we're listening to
correct.
somebody's story. So it's all about really, when we talk about uplifting consciousness, I come to this four-letter word always, and that is love.
Love. Yes,
How are we,
absolutely.
how are we loving? How are we being in that love? Are we expecting anything in return? Are we giving of ourselves freely, with no expectation? And if we just focus on that four-letter word, I think that it makes it so much better for us to delve into a daily practice of mindfulness, of really
Right.
uplifting consciousness, because
Right.
it's all about what we do. It's how we act towards each other, what type of mindset we bring into our work or into our businesses. So,
Mm.
yes, four-letter word called love.
Right. And it's the simplest one, right? Like breathing,
Simple but
breathing
hard.
and love. It comes so naturally. You don't even have to
Yeah,
think about it. Yeah. But I think that that's why when we don't have to think about it, we take it for granted. And I think this is why we need to be a bit more conscientious of
absolutely.
yeah, of those little things that
Mm-hmm.
actually can change your own state of being. And then, of
Mm-hmm.
course, like we said earlier, it then projects and it benefits everyone. So this is the secret of health and wellness. But it's very, very broad, and we've narrowed it down to this. And just one more thing that I'm sure you can share, knowing your the professional background that you come from, and that is loving yourself first. That's the healing, because one needs to heal first, right, before one can do anything else. And so, yeah,
Yes.
please, before we close, quickly on loving oneself.
I think that loving yourself is such a beautiful personal journey that anyone can go into. I feel that everyone has access to it if they're willing to open themselves up and really, really go deep into where their woundings come from, where do their certain thought patterns come from, and limiting beliefs, because we all have them. We all carry that story of with us, and really there is power in our personal stories. So when we come to loving ourselves, it's really understanding what triggers us emotionally, what makes us think about a certain thing that way, and trying to see whether that actually serves me or not in my life. And
Right,
if we identify what that is, if we are open to delving deep into ourselves, and not in a judgmental or criticizing kind of
right.
way, but in a loving way, a curious way of
Mm,
understanding who we are, I think that that's where it starts. It definitely starts with us. I always say that whatever happens in my inner world actually creates my outer world. So
correct.
if we go with that mindset and start the journey in terms of our personal development in loving ourselves, I think that that actually contributes to the collective consciousness that we've been speaking about earlier.
Absolutely. That is a wonderful way to end uh, our interview on our little discussion on. Thank you so much, Karisha, for giving us your time this afternoon. I know it was at the 11th hour, but really we appreciate it. And thanks so much for sharing that knowledge with us.
Thank you so much, Najma. Thank you very much.
Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Thank you.
You as well. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye. That's it. This is my penultimate show for the month of Ramadan on Salam Media Mid Morning Talk with Najma Kota. I'll be back with you next week at the same time. And I must say that we apologize for all of the technical problems that we've had this morning and afternoon. I hope that, inshallah, the rest of the day goes well for our technical team and for the staff, and trouble free next week. But we're doing our best here. So, inshallah, looking forward to being back with you next week at the same time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.